Welcome to Talk with Olena podcast. And today we're talking about hiring marketing help for your immigration firm. This is one of my most favorite topics because I love all things marketing and I just really struggled actually delegating this part of this business. So, in this journey of delegating that part of my business, I discovered a lot. And what I really discovered is that there are three main levels of marketing help that you can hire. There are three roles that you need to choose between when you're making a hiring decision. And for each stage of business, for each business model situation, there would be only one choice that makes sense. So my goal for today, for after you finish listening this episode, that you know exactly which marketing hire, one, two, or three, your business actually needs. And you know exactly what to expect in terms of results and what to expect in terms of the ownership from that person. Okay, so let's dive into it. Now, I want to open with just the fact that I see all the time RCICs hiring marketing agencies, marketing freelancers, contractors, employees in the hopes to achieve higher sales, to achieve better exposure for their business, better business growth. And they are oftentimes just left disappointed. And honestly, a lot of times it's not because the person they hired is wrong. A lot of times is that because they lacked clarity of what that person actually is supposed to bring to the table, what results they're owning, and what role they're actually being hired for. So that is why I want to break down today these three levels, so to speak, three levels of marketing hire. And I want you to identify which one actually makes sense for you, which one fits your business. Okay, so let's start with level one. So, level one is what I call the role that's called the execution assistant. So, marketing execution assistant. And this role may be right for you if you are in the earlier stages of your business. And really, who this hire or this role is for is really if you are already figured out kind of what works for your marketing, you figured out what drives the sales, what drives the demand, what gets your business in front of people. You start figuring out and you start getting cases and that demand, and now your hands are full. And then you constantly feeling like you are in a push stop cycle when you're pushing on marketing, and then you get cases, you get consultations, and then you dive into delivery, dive into serving your clients. So your marketing kind of goes in the back burner and then it stops, right? And then your cash flow dries up, and then you're like, okay, I need money, and then you go again to the push cycle of marketing, and you're just wishing there was somebody that would help you. So one of those solutions may be the execution marketing assistant. So who is that assistant, and who is that, what is that role, that you would be hiring for? So the execution marketing assistant is the role that really they do what you tell them to do. So they create posts, they schedule posts, they write captions from your notes, they design graphics, they manage your content calendar, they repurpose your content. So basically, they just produce marketing based on your content, your notes, your videos, your strategy, and they are just the extra pair of hands, right? So for example, I'm shooting this podcast from right now, so my execution assistant would be just taking this podcast, uploading on YouTube, uploading on podcast platform, writing a caption to this podcast. They don't drive the strategy. They don't tell me what I should be talking about right now. They don't drive any sort of outcomes or KPIs. They just purely taking what I'm giving, what I'm producing right now, and they're just uploading in content. Make sure that the caption is good. Make sure that everything's good, and just making sure that pieces of content are going out based on my strategy, my brain, my knowledge, and my thought process. And they just publish stuff, basically produce. If it's Instagram, they produce graphics, they publish posts and all of that. But in the role, when you have this first level, so level one, the execution assistant, basically you are the brain, the strategy, and the owner of the marketing and sales. And the execution assistant, they are a doer. What they do, they execute, right? So I hope you have a good understanding of this specific level of marketing help that you may want or may not want to hire, depends on your needs, right? So with this level, what's important to kind of cover is that who really needs this type of a role within their firm is the RCIC, who is very kind of straight on their strategy. They know what works for their marketing, they know what doesn't work. They know exactly what content to produce, how to produce it, what is the content strategy, what is the content mix, what content is going to grow their presence online, what content is going to nurture and generate sales. So they are the RCIC who is in tune with their marketing, but they just wearing too many hats in their daily life, and they literally just need a pair of extra hands. That's the RCIC that's going to benefit from it. And that was me for a very long time, until just 1 year ago. For a very long time, I never wanted to give up to be the owner of strategy, to be the owner of KPIs, to be the owner of, to be the driver of sales, to be the driver of marketing. I never wanted to give it up. That's why until fairly recently, I hired always the marketing execution support, because I knew exactly what I was doing, and I never wanted to give up of that ownership of sales, ownership of strategy, ownership of marketing. And that, quite frankly, work that I liked, because I was wearing a hat of CMO, right? I was wearing a hat of chief marketing officer when I was strategizing and driving sales for the company. And then I was just having that execution assistant that was a doer, that was my helper. So that is level one of the hire that you may want or may not want to consider. Now, who is the ideal candidate for this role? Now, the beauty here is that the ideal candidate for this role is pretty much almost anyone in the world who is offering these kind of services. The beauty is that it's very, very low cost. Like, you don't have to really push yourself in terms of in terms of overhead. Like, you can find very competitive freelancers offering these services, and there is a lot of talent out there who would be able to provide you with this service. So that's absolutely great. Now, this person does not have to have any experience with immigration, because they're a doer. They're just doing what you're telling them to do, right? They don't really need to have any experience with immigration. They do probably need to have some graphic design skills, some good sense of social media and all that kind of stuff, but not with immigration industry specifically. So to find that person is actually fairly easy and fairly low cost, which is definitely good news. So what I see also is working, and what has been working for me with this role, is that the big benefit of hiring for this role is that this person who is a doer, who is they're executing basically your content, your thoughts, your strategy, right? Your content ideas. This person has this really great ability to also provide you a structure and accountability to stay super consistent with marketing. So if you're not consistent with marketing, if you feel like you're falling off track all the time, this may be the right solution for you. Because what I found is that the biggest benefit for me in having this execution assistant, marketing execution assistant in my team, was the fact that this person was always on top of the game. They were telling me like, hey, Olena, you told me, we have to post every day. You didn't send me 5 posts for this week. Where's my 5 posts? And they would bug me, and they would hold me accountable to our content plan, and they would hold themselves accountable. This person definitely has to be very organized, because they need to keep the whole business on track when it comes to just what needs to go out in terms of marketing on daily basis, and they need to keep you accountable. And that really, really works well, because not only this person makes sure that your strategy in your brain actually goes out in the world and does good for your business and gets published on, wherever it is, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, but also this person is really majorly contributes to consistency of your marketing. And honestly, it has been probably the biggest trick in the toolbox for a lot of my mentees, because as I said, pretty affordable to hire the person who would really, really change the game plan for your consistency. But before we transition to the level 2 of marketing help, I have to say that the very, very big caveat with the level 1, with the marketing execution assistant, is that you have to know what you're doing when it comes to marketing. So now that I explained you the role, I want you to understand is that this person, the marketing execution assistant, is not the person who is coming up with the concepts of the posts, of what is going to be posted, why it's going to be posted, and what the results are going to be driven by this social media post. So this is a purely execution. So if you're hiring somebody for execution, you need to be the one who holds ownership of the brain and the strategy behind your marketing and sales. And you need to be the one who holds ownership of hitting those sales and marketing KPIs, right? So my question to you, if you listened to me for the past 10 minutes and thought like, well, that sounds amazing, my question to you is, do you know what drives sales within your marketing for your business? Do you know how to direct your execution assistant, what to give them for them to be successful in their role and to bring benefit to your business? Because number one mistake that I see all the time is that RCICs hire a marketing execution assistant in hopes that they're actually going to be marketing and sales strategist. But my marketing and sales strategist, this is a role number 2. So let me explain it. Role number 2, marketing and sales strategist, that is completely different role, which with a completely different pay, definitely double or maybe even quadruple of marketing what marketing execution person gets. So level number two is a very significant, extremely significant level up. And let me explain you what this level number 2 hire may bring to your business. So marketing strategist, or as I call them, marketing and sales strategist, this person is driver. So if the first level 1 execution assistant is a doer, then this level 2 person is a driver. So what they're doing, they think about strategy and they do execution, right? So they actually build your content strategy. They write a copy, they manage campaigns, they track what's working, what's not working, and they actually decide what needs to be posted, how it needs to be posted, what needs to be changed, what's working, what's not working. if they're hitting KPIs, if they're hitting sales, or if they're not hitting sales. You would, as an owner of the company, as an RCIC, you would set the vision for this marketing strategist role for this person, but they run the marketing engine. They're literally the heart of the engine. So they basically combine strategy, the brain, and execution, the doing, in one role. And as you understand, that is comes with a different pay grade, right? You cannot, and cannot tell you enough of this, but you cannot hire somebody for, I don't know, $500 per month and expect that they take ownership of your full marketing strategy and drive sales at a level of 20, 40, $50,000 per month for you. You cannot expect that from $500 hire, right? So the level 2 marketing and sales strategist, it is the role that really combines the brain behind the marketing. So you don't have to think about content anymore. You don't have to stress out about what do we need to post about and what needs to be posted to drive sales. You don't need to stress out about all the creative ideas and creative webinar preps and new marketing initiatives and the events and all of the things that we're doing for marketing, right? You don't need to come up with all this stuff anymore. You have a person who will literally have a full-time job coming up with all this stuff, right? And not only that, not only they will be building strategy based on your vision, but they will be also executing that strategy. So how that looks in real life? In real life, it looks the way that you would, as an RCIC and the owner of the business, say like, okay, let's look at our sales KPIs. Let's look at our numbers last month, last year, this month. Let's look at what was happening. Let's look at the market situation with immigration, and let's see what we need to target. And maybe depending on the time of the year, the market, you would say, okay, like this month, what we want to do, we want to really take advantage of express entry draws because they're happening right now. So we want to ramp up on express entry files, but also we want to balance it out with spousal sponsorship. So you would give that vision to the and direction to the marketing strategist, marketing and sales strategist, and marketing and sales strategists would come up with a marketing strategy how we are going to get, let's say, 10 express entry clients this month and 5 spousal sponsorship clients this month, and how that all is going to look like, through which tools. Are we throwing events? Are we just posting? Are we doing anything differently? Or we're doing the same strategy? Like all of these things, and what exactly is going to be posted, what those posts are, what the posts that are going to go viral, what the posts are that are going to nurture, what are the pieces of content that are going to activate people to book consultation, and what are the pieces of content that are going to activate growth and visibility. And do we need growth and visibility, or do we need nurturing and sales? Right? And all of these questions, there are 1 million of these questions and 1 million of these things to consider. And that is strategy, right? That we have the outcome that we need to achieve, which is KPI. Let's say it's 10 express entry cases and 5 spousal sponsorship cases. And then that is the outcome. And then marketing strategist and sales strategist job is to figure out the path of how we're going to achieve that outcome and also execute that path. Now, important disclaimer here that this person is in a middle management position, right? So they are not senior, and they will need your support in figuring out this path. However, they should be doing it more so independently, and they should be also owning sales KPIs and also owning marketing KPIs, right? So it's not only about delegating your marketing strategy, your marketing brain thinking, but also and marketing execution. Of course, somebody needs to post all that stuff, right? But it's also most importantly, delegating the mental load of constantly bringing sales to your company. And that has been the biggest shift for me that happened in the past year. Because I know, we all entrepreneurs know how hard it is to run in a constant hamster wheel of sales, of paying your workers, paying yourself, generating sales, paying for overhead, and making sure everything runs profitably, right? And it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. So having to delegate the mental load of generating sales is huge. And marketing and sales strategist, that's exactly the person that you will be able to do that. Because marketing and sales strategies should have very, very clear targets, because in the end of the day, it's marketing position and it's a sales position as well. They should have very clear targets with very clear structure, and they should be kept like accountable to these targets, right? As any really sales position. So having that workload or that mental load of sales delegated has been absolutely huge. And I think to find the person for the position of marketing and sales strategist is definitely certainly not easy, but at the same time it's very, very, very much possible. So who that person should be? Well, number one, ideally you probably want somebody with experience in Canadian immigration industry. Now I will be honest with you, there is not a lot of talent with good experience in marketing in our industry. I've interviewed many, many people, and it's not the biggest pool of candidates, and it's not the best pool of candidates, let me put it that way. However, those people are there. Now there is an alternative. So if you try to find a person, and if that's the position that fits your needs, right, if you try to find a person with Canadian immigration marketing experience, and if it is a right person, absolutely, like that's perfect. But if you cannot quite find a person with Canadian immigration experience, I would argue that hiring somebody without Canadian immigration experience may just work as well. And I've hired someone without any Canadian immigration experience, and she grew to be a pretty good marketing and sales strategist. So, absolutely, I want to say that this is possible. And absolutely, those that talent is out there. Now, when I say that talent is out there, I really do mean talent, because this position is a very key position for your company. And you should hire a very, very motivated person who is motivated by success, by dopamine, by successful marketing, hitting those numbers, hitting those views, hitting those replying to those direct messages, sending out the retainer agreements, sending out quotes, like the person who is truly, truly enjoying it, right? And it is a journey to find that person. And I have to say that one of the biggest mistakes, as I mentioned before, is that usually what I find is that RCICs, they are looking for marketing and sales strategies, because probably if, you listened to me for the last 10 minutes as I was describing this role, and you're like, oh, that sounds amazing, but they don't have a budget to pay for this role, right? Because here's the reality: if you want somebody to be responsible for your marketing, for your strategy, for your sales, if you want someone to tell you what to do in terms of marketing and not vice versa, then that's going to cost money. And I'm talking about very similar wage to your legal assistant, right? Like very, very much decent wage. That person can be in Canada or overseas, that doesn't matter. But regardless of that, the salary is not going to be peanuts. So you cannot expect that, because that should be a very smart person with very motivational, ambitious mindset. and very much ability to learn how marketing works for your firm, for your audience, right? And that does not come cheap. So that's, I wanted to just kind of pre-handle that, is that this role is can be absolutely game changer for you, but you need to figure out where is the budget that you're willing to commit to, right? And the bottom line is that most people want model 2 hire, or sorry, level 2 hire, so marketing and sales strategies, for the price of level 1, for the just execution. And that is exactly why in 99% of cases of RCICs that I talk to, they tell me that, oh, I hired that marketing person and we posted on Facebook for 6 months, or posted on Instagram or whatever, and it never worked out and they never got any consultations. Is because you never hired a person for marketing and sales strategy. You hired a person for execution, but you're now all of a sudden expecting marketing and strategy, but you're not paying for it, right? And you never trained that person. You never explained them the expectations. You probably never set KPIs. You probably never talked about targets, about sales targets, about marketing targets, about production targets in terms of marketing, right? So this is the biggest challenge that I see. And then the third level, so the third level is the highest level, and that is a CMO. So CMO is a chief marketing officer. And if you think that you're a small business and that's not for you, that's actually not true. So let me explain first kind of who CMO is, and then I'll show you how that fits in your business. So CMO basically is the person who leads your entire marketing function. So they set direction, they build the team, so they make the hires. They define what team is needed. They own the budget. They are absolutely accountable for growth, for sales, for all the KPIs that are there connected to marketing. And you do not manage CMO. So you do not manage. CMO reports to you like a senior leader. So you're almost hiring like a partner, so to speak, right? And they report to you on the marketing side of things. So basically, this is the solution for those people who are not good with marketing and they just not willing to learn, or they try to learn and they just cannot figure out how to bring sales to their business. What you need to do, you need to hire CMO. So in reality, obviously you don't need a full-time CMO. So there are, I don't know if you guys have heard, like for example, in accounting firms, like CPA accounting firms, a lot of times you have services of fractional CFO, fractional chief financial officer. So this is a person who would be essentially your chief financial officer, but because you don't need them full time, they're fractional chief financial officer. They do the exact same function as a CFO at Apple would do, but they just do it on fractional basis. So for fractional CMO, you can absolutely do the same. Like I act as a fractional CMO for 3 immigration firms right now, and you can absolutely, so to speak, outsource the leadership of sales and marketing. So let's dig deeper into fractional CMO, what it is and what exactly they're doing. So you can hire a fractional CMO to build your complete marketing system, rinse and repeat marketing system from scratch. Hire your team with or without your involvement, that's up to your preference, right? Hire your team and completely build the so to speak the engine of marketing, the machine of marketing and sales for your company. Because the reality is that if you, as an owner, as a senior leadership, if you don't know how to build the sales machine or the marketing machine for your company to generate revenue so you can pay your employees, you can process cases, you can make profit, right? And you can accomplish all of your goals and dreams. So if you don't know how to generate sales for your company at the level that you want to generate them, or you're not clear yet how to structure marketing, or maybe you're not clear how to build the processes around what team members to hire, which team, where to find marketing strategist, or maybe you want only execution assistant and not marketing strategist. If you're just not clear how to organize the process of the marketing, that it works and rinse and repeat, and it consistently brings you results that you can track, KPIs, you can track your growth, you can track your consultation, how many consultation sales you made this month, track how many retainers, what's the sales value of retainers, right? Like, to have all of that complete system. If you don't have like a complete comprehension of how to have it, then CMO, that's something that you probably would need to consider if you want to grow, of course. So that is a partner senior leadership that you're essentially hiring and saying like, okay, your job is to build marketing and sales system for my company that then I can actually operate as a owner operator of the company, but you build it. You build the machine, and as a CMO, and then show me the results, show me the KPIs, show me the targets, and then I'll come in and then I'll operate this machine, right? So fractional CMO or CMO is the essentially the owner of this marketing, or the builder, I guess, of this marketing machine. And you just get to it's like building a custom home, right? Like something like that. And somebody builds a custom home for you, and then you just walk in there and live there, but then it's kind of like your responsibility to take care of the home, right? So that's the idea. Now, of course, that is the most senior level of support that you can get from marketing. And that being said, this person, CMO, absolutely has to have a very good understanding of immigration industry, because fractional CMO is probably not going to do well if they have not been in the industry. Now, that person has to understand all the nitty gritty of the conversion rates. What's the conversion rate from consultation to a retainer? What's the healthy rate of quality consultations? What's versus not quality consultations? Like, they need to understand the industry standards. They need to understand the nitty gritty of KPIs, data, the nitty gritty of actually what audiences, what the market is, what your audience is going to be driven by in marketing, right? So that person would definitely need to come with certain experience in immigration industry. So just a quick recap. So first level, the execution person doesn't have to have any experience. Second level, marketing strategist, would be great if they have some experience in immigration, but if they don't, not a deal breaker. The third level, the fractional CMO for your firm, absolutely non-negotiable. They have to have experience in the industry. So definitely, that is the most senior level. They have to have experience. And of course, that's going to come with absolutely the highest pay grade. Now, the reality is that you don't need fractional CMO on always and forever basis. You probably would need them on certain time frame basis. So most of the times, for example, when I work with RCICs, we would do 6 months fractional CMO contract, right? And then we kind of see how it goes. Depending on what happens, then we either extend it or we pause it and then come back to it next year, whatever the case is. But it's not like forever and ever, because the reality is that once you build the house is there. And once you build the machine, the machine is kind of going, right? And it's happening. Yeah, it needs tweaking here and there. Or if it's like some very, very pivotal moments in business and you're completely changing your niche, like sure, your marketing needs to be completely changed. But in reality is that like once you build the machine, it's there. So you don't, like the beauty of fractional CMO, you don't need them forever and ever. So it's not like a bill that you're committing to forever. Now, I have to say that fractional CMO is a good fit only for those RCICs who definitely have the budget to hire either marketing strategist or execution, right? Because the reality is that the machine needs to be built with people, right? And with systems, marketing system, and a person, at least one person, to serve that system. And that person should not be you. So that is certainly for the companies with a larger cash flow, and certainly for the companies that are not, not under $100,000. So I would say like all of my clients, I'm just thinking about my clients who I do fractional CMO for, all of them are 200,000 plus. Like I have one 200,000 plus, one 300,000 plus, one 500,000 plus. So yeah, like 200,000 plus. So that's something to think about, like who this would be a good fit for, because the reality is that you want to have the resources, the oil for the machine, right? Because if you just invest a bunch of money into hiring fractional CMO, for example, but then you don't have money left to serve the machine, the marketing machine, so it can actually function, then it's all pointless. So you have to have certain level of cash flow. So those are three levels. So I want to recap just super quickly and just kind of sum up things. And if you have any questions, please do let me know, because I feel like maybe sometimes it's a little bit confusing when I talk. So recap. Level one of marketing hire is execution assistant. So this is a person who is a doer. You tell them, I want to post this. They go, they make the graphic, they post it. You tell them, I just shot this video. They go, they post the video. You tell them we need to post every day, then they keep you accountable. They create content calendars. They are basically thinking in a way of like pieces of content to produce. They're not thinking in a way of sales. They're not thinking in a way how this content impacts your company, if it brings sales or if it doesn't bring sales, or what it generates. That content is nurturing content, is growth content. Like they're not aware of those things. They just like post it and done, and they keep you accountable to actually get things done, right? So this is number one. Who is it for? This is for people who absolutely know what they're doing in terms of their marketing. They love marketing. They love the strategy. They love being responsible for ownership, for sales, for ownership of marketing, ownership of sales. And they just need an extra pair of hands to just facilitate all the posting stuff and all the responses to DMs and responses to emails and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's level number one. Level number two is marketing and sales strategist. So this is the driver. The first one was a doer. This is a driver. So this is a person that builds your strategy, the person that manages literally everything, tracks KPIs, being held up accountable to sales KPIs, to marketing KPIs, targets, and they execute all of it. So they post stuff, they keep you accountable, they tell you what to do, right? What YouTube video to shoot, what I don't know, maybe TikTok to shoot, right? So you set the vision. You tell them like, this is what we need. We need 10 express entry cases this month, and they just are being accountable for making it happen. So they run the marketing engine. But the thing is that they don't build the engine, right? You're the one who building the engine, but they run the engine. But you have to know how to build it. That's a thing. You have to know how to build it. So that's the second level. And then the third level, that's the highest seniority level, that would be the fractional CMO. So this is a person who completely leads the entire marketing function. So they build the engine, right? They build the engine, so then the marketing strategist can actually run it, right? If that makes sense. So fractional CMO builds the engine. They're accountable for growth. They own the budget. They build the team. They hire. They do all the high level decisions. You don't manage CMO. CMO is like your partner, because if you are lacking the skill of how to build my sales and marketing engine, like I kind of know, but at the same time, I'm just lacking that structure. I need somebody to come in, build the engine for me. So then hire the person who's going to run the engine. So then it runs, right? That's the fractional CMO. So obviously, these three levels are very different. And depending on where you are in your journey and what knowledge and what skill level you have in marketing, that would really impact the decision, which level and which hire do you need, or combination of those, right? Because the reality is that you have any combination of those three. But again, having a very clear distinction of those three choices of a marketing hire really makes it so clear of what actually makes sense and what do you get for your invested money. When you invest in hiring for marketing, you know exactly what you get when you think in terms of these three levels, right? So I think that has been very helpful for me in 2025. That was the year when I came to kind of this realization that, there are these three levels, and like this is exactly what it is. And this is after this realization, I transitioned from just execution assistant to actually marketing and sales strategist position. And that's why, I felt like it was a big pivot, definitely for our company, just because the mental load of constantly making sales was finally released, and I felt like, the clarity that it brought to my business, it was absolutely great. So depending on your situation, your needs, you may have one or two or three is the right answer for you. And I'm super excited actually to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think? What marketing help do you think you need? Is it level one, two, or three? So let me know. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. You can find my LinkedIn link down below in the description. And Instagram, you can just put my name, Olena Weber, and you can reach out to me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching this. And I'm always happy to hear your thoughts about this episode.